Roblox gets sued a bunch. However, on a more rare occurrence, a lot of Roblox games actually get sued, and sometimes sue each other. And today we're going to break a lot of those down today. And stay tuned because some of these might shock you. Also, please subscribe. Alright, firstly, let's start with one that a lot of people actually forgot about. Of there being Roblox Uno games. So a few months ago actually, any Roblox game that included the popular card game Uno just got completely deleted and shut down from the platform. And it was revealed that the company behind Uno, Mattel, was just doing this under copyright. And since a lot of the games use like the concept of Uno and sometimes even the assets, Mattel sued these games and took them down for copyright. And a lot of these games are actually very popular. Like the one the screenshot they showed has over 230 million visits. Another popular one is like Uno Official, which has like 150 million visits or over 150 million visits. And all these games have like thousands of people active, so they're very popular. Now the situation is actually a good ending, because these games didn't just completely end right here. A lot of them actually just revamped the entire game and just switched everything to their own branding. So still the same concept, which I think is allowed, but the branding is no longer copied, so the game can't do anything about it. Like one of the most popular ones being Uno Official, just changed it to Local Official, their own version of it. And the game's the same, but it now uses their own assets and ideas, so they're kind of safe from being sued again. And the game is still doing very well, it's thousands of people active, and the game's doing fine now. But they did run into a big issue when the situation happened. And I think most other Uno games did the exact same thing too, where they kind of rebranded it to their own version. And luckily they've been good ever since. But with that, let's get into more of an insane situation of there being driving games. And I feel like out of every single Roblox game, driving games are the games that get sued the most on the platform. And these are the games that are constantly getting in trouble. Now I'm pretty sure, to some extent, almost every popular driving game has been sued, or a DMCA request has been like taken against them to remove assets from their game, because most driving games, they model their cars off real life cars, and a lot of times they're exact like one for one replicas. And even though they don't use the logo, it's pretty obvious like what they're trying to recreate, which then led to a lot of car companies catching on. And because of that, so much car companies have taken action against these popular driving games, and the most I've seen is Driving Empire. They had like a total of 11 DMCA requests and lawsuits from companies, which are actually insane. A tweet here says, Roblox game Driving Empire has been served multiple takedown notices, once again for infringement of intellectual property, by Bentley, BMW, General Motors, Hyundai, Lucid, Rolls-Royce, Stellantis, and Toyota. So yeah, as we can see, there's so much companies that took action against these games, and it's not just that. They followed up in the replies kind of breaking down every company even more, because some companies like General Motors, for example, has a bunch of companies underneath it, which also took action against them. And the entire list is right here saying Bentley, BMW, General Motors, Buick, Cadillac, Chevrolet, GMC, Hyundai, Lucid, Stellantis, Toyota, Lexus have all issued DMCA requests and lawsuits against these companies to take down all their cars in the game, which are actually just insane. And it's not just Driving Empire, like I said, I'm pretty sure other driving games have faced issues as well. But Driving Empire gets hit the most because it's the most popular. Like Driving Empire has 1 billion visits and like 15,000 to 20,000 people active usually, so it's a big game. And because of that, they face a lot of lawsuits and stuff, and they constantly get in trouble. Now to be fair, like I said, the game is still doing fine, and I think they kind of switched to kind of making their own models and stuff. But because of this, the game has suffered a lot because a lot of people stop playing because they want to play these games to, you know, experience like the realistic cars and stuff. And the fact that a lot of them get removed has made a lot of people very angry. And then from that, I know a lot of times in these games, they actually sell these cars and stuff for Robux. And because of that, they have to issue so much like refund and stuff. So the company did like lose money from this. And then from that, our next game is a classic situation that probably everyone's heard about at this point, being Pokemon Brick Bronze. Pokemon Brick Bronze is the most infamous or famous Roblox game that has been taken down. And the reason it got taken down is pretty self-explanatory. Pokemon Brick Bronze, as the title suggests, was basically a replica of Pokemon. And it was the best way to play Pokemon on Roblox, and it was a very accurate recreation, which is why people liked it, because it was made so well. But then obviously because of that and how successful the game was, Nintendo eventually caught on. I think the game had like 1 billion visits, I've heard, before it got taken down or something crazy like that. But Nintendo did hear about it eventually, and they took the game down for a DMCA request once again for copyright. And because of that, they had to take down the entire game, and they weren't allowed to use like the Pokemon assets or anything like that. And unlike the other situations, they can't just remove some stuff and replace some stuff because the entire game is modeled off Pokemon and stuff. So if they wanted to like make another game, they have to recreate Pokemon themselves and use all their own IDs and stuff, which eventually they actually did end up doing, eventually releasing the popular game Lumi Legacy, which follows the same concept but entirely made by them, and they've been safe from Pokemon ever since, and Nintendo. But with that, next we move to the Spongy Construction Project, and this game was pretty insane, because as the name suggests, it was a SpongeBob game. However, it wasn't just your typical SpongeBob game. The game was a perfect recreation of SpongeBob and like all their characters and stuff, and it was an overall very insane game. It's probably the best SpongeBob game I've ever seen. But obviously, once again, they made this game without permission. So Paramount, the people behind SpongeBob, right away caught on and they took the game down. which is pretty crazy because the game was very popular and is doing very well. However, it didn't completely like blow up to the extent of like Pokemon Brick Bronze, but the company still found out about it and caught on. And then following this, I think there was situations where they kept trying to put the game back up and stuff, but then it just keep getting taken down. And then eventually they were asking like to get a license for the game since the game was made so well, but it overall just ended up not working. And I think eventually Roblox and Paramount has made official collaborations and like SpongeBob games, but I don't think they were as good as the Spongy Construction Project. And with that, we moved to Sonic Speed Simulator and Funky Friday. So the popular game Funky Friday is actually partially owned by GameFam now. I don't think that they fully own it, but they like kind of own it and they help work on the game and stuff. And because of that, they started adding like Funky Friday collabs to like their other games like Sonic Speed Simulator and stuff. But eventually they took it too far because the people behind Funky Friday eventually realized. And as we can see here, at one point they tweeted out saying like, oh, they're adding a Funky Friday collab and stuff. And then the developers behind the original game Friday Night Funkin' kind of responded just saying like, oh, we're gonna consult our lawyers and stuff, which a lot of people thought was a joke. But then following this, there's a lot of talk and like they kept saying how they actually want to take action against the game and stuff, because Funky Friday was just a free version and an easier version of Friday Night Funkin', and it was kind of a copy of that game. Now, following that situation, Funky Friday had to remove a lot of songs and stuff, I'm pretty sure, and they were kind of battling a lot of like lawsuits and stuff between these, or DMCA takedown requests. And eventually, I think they kind of reached an agreement where they still have some assets and stuff in the game, but I'm pretty sure they still have to remove a lot of music. But because of all this like drama and situation going on, if you go to Funky Friday now, in the description, it literally says certain assets were used in accordance to Ninja Muffins and the FNF license. So now they have to specify that, you know, they have a license for this and they have permission to use it, because before they didn't have permission. And with that, let's move to Pet Simulator, but not in the way that you think, because Pet Simulator at one point is actually DMCA requesting and suing other Roblox games and developers. So firstly, before we get into the games, at one point they're actually suing and DMCA requesting like leak accounts, which is pretty crazy. And then from that kind of led to a massive drama where any Roblox game that had cube pets, because that's what they have in Pet Simulator X, would start getting DMCA requested and their game deleted. And the reason I'm saying this led to a big drama is because a lot of times the pets didn't even look the same. The only similarity was that it was a cube, which Preston and Pet Simulator didn't even invent, which is why everyone's getting mad at this. And to make it even worse, they were even taking down like games for smaller developers, you know, who obviously couldn't even fight this because they're small developers. And I think at one point even like kids who were making games started getting like DMCA requests on Pet Simulator X. It was pretty insane what was going on. And because of the situation, a lot of pet games got taken down and deleted, and a lot of people suffered from this, especially smaller developers. It was a pretty insane situation going on. And then at one point during all this drama, I remember like Preston also and Big Games also had like some of their items removed for copyright, which is very funny and ironic, but overall it's a pretty crazy situation, and a lot of pet games got deleted because of this. And with that, we move into a more recent situation, and the most insane one actually, of them being anime games. So recently, popular studio GameFam collabed with the anime My Hero Academia to make an official My Hero Academia game. However, with the launch of that, a lot of popular anime games based their stuff off My Hero Academia, and because of that, since there is now an official My Hero Academia game on the platform, they started taking down every other game based on that anime, and these games were massive. The major ones were Anime Adventures and Anime Fighting Simulator and Anime Fighting Simulator X. Like Anime Adventures had like 2 billion visits, the other game had like 800 million visits, and I think the other one had like 1 billion visits as well. So it was a combined like 3 billion visits worth of game getting taken down and DMCA requested, which is pretty insane. And then following that situation, a lot of other games started shutting down because they were afraid they're gonna get sued and a DMCA request next. And this whole situation led to some of the biggest games on Roblox getting taken down. And the situation is like a few weeks old now, and a lot of these games still are taken down. The biggest one being Anime Adventures kind of respond to this, saying that they are obviously shocked by the DMCA request and notice, and they have no choice but to keep switching up the game and just like try to change up everything that, you know, the company thinks is DMCA request worthy. So they're still in the process of doing that, and the games will eventually come back. However, during this period, and since it's been down for so long, they're probably losing a bunch of players and money because of this, because the games are massive, you know, they have tens of thousands of people active, billions of visits. So for it to be down for like a month or potentially even longer, it's going to be losing a lot of money, and they suffered a lot from this. And overall, as we can see, a lot of Roblox games, when they get super popular, actually do get sued by original companies, because a lot of times the most situations end up just being that they use copyright assets and stuff, and the companies eventually catch on. And it's pretty crazy to see Roblox games themselves get sued besides Roblox as a whole. And if you enjoyed, check out this video to find out in general some of the most popular Roblox games get deleted. I'll see you in the next one.